Good evening, everybody. How is your day going? For some of you, it's still afternoon. For me, it's very close to bedtime. I stay up a little bit later on these nights, and then I have the delight of just like laughing with you guys and then going to bed directly afterwards. So that's going to be great. Um, yeah, does anyone have anything on their minds from our last session that they want to share before we jump into this one? Yeah, it's okay if you don't. I mean, some of you may even not have been here, although as I'm glancing around, I'm like, I think all of you were, which is remarkable. Oh, not Abigail. Hi. Yeah, okay, cool. Well, that's great. It was goofy. It was very fun. And we're gonna do something like a slightly different vibe. I'm carrying on with the doing it badly theme, but exploring another like aspect of it, which I think is going to be really interesting. So actually, for today, I'm going to give you journaling time right off the top. Okay? I'm just getting that. Oh, someone else is here. I always need to let the first like 5 minutes be just, people settling, arriving, settling. Try to do that myself. Oh, that reminds me of a podcast I was listening to earlier that maybe I'll share with you because I found it very useful, very interesting. Um, Maybe while you're journaling, I will find the link for that and share it with you. But okay, so here's the, oh, there's someone else. Hang on. Every time I try to start, someone else shows up. It's good though. I love having all these people here. It's so delightful. Okay. Abigail says they're bad at a lot of things, so you're ready. Yeah, all of us are bad at a lot of things. We really are. I would also say the things that you're probably the worst at are the things you haven't tried yet. And maybe we're going to try a little bit of that. Maybe we're going to do a little bit of that tonight. Um, but okay, so regardless of which things you are bad at or that you feel bad at, you certainly have had the experience of feeling bad at something. And so we're going to spend the length of a song to just journal. And I'm going to say, like, stream of consciousness is a good style for this journaling where you just keep things flowing. Just keep the pen moving, saying whatever comes to mind. And journaling specifically about perfection this time. So I'll give you a song to listen to, and whatever comes to mind, whatever's interesting for you in the realm of perfection or in your relationship to perfection. And then we're going to come back and do a little thing. So just write and write and write. And I'll see you back here in about 5 minutes. Sound good? Cool. I'll also type it in the chat. I want to keep remembering to put my written instructions there. But okay, here we go. Hello, everyone, again. How's your journaling? It was longer than 5 minutes because that music doesn't have very distinct beginnings and endings. So I was just listening for it to be close to over, and then I was like, oh, we're in the next song. Well, here we are. So here's the thing. Comics can be defined in so many different ways, but in the most basic sense, some panels in a sequence arranged on a page with pictures and possibly also words, or with words and possibly also pictures. You can play with that however you like. But what I'm going to throw you into at this moment is using your non-dominant hand. Grab a piece of paper or a new canvas on your tablet. Using your non-dominant hand, you're going to draw 4 panels on your page. They can be arranged in a line or in a grid, however you like. 4 panels on the page. What are we going to fill these panels with? I would like you to try, and again, like if you think of something you'd rather do, run with your own ideas before you follow mine. But my suggestion, my invitation, is to make a comic from the journaling that you just did using exclusively your non-dominant hand. Are there any questions? I mean, I'm seeing some confusion. I'm seeing some people who look just like everything's normal and cool. I don't. I'm I don't want to explain it very much because I think the joy of an exercise like this, of just you're being thrown into something that you couldn't possibly have any version of right for. Which is to say, however you work your way through it is great. It's perfect. Deanna has a question though. What's that, Deanna?
It's a bit of a perfectionisty question. I am
Uh,
thinking.
Fascinating.
We
Do
don't
it.
we don't use a ruler to make our squares. Okay, just checking.
Yeah, no. We're just going to use the non-dominant hand and see what happens. This is a very much a see what happens type of exercise. And the thing is, I'm not asking you to make it up out of thin air what the comic is about. You just wrote about something. You wrote about perfection and your feelings about it, or your thoughts about it, or maybe you even had like memories or images in there. Now make a comic from that material. It's right there. Yeah, okay. Well, here's the thing. We're gonna go back and listen to more lovely percussive and jangly music. Um, but yeah, I'll give you 10 minutes, maybe more even, so you can really just like explore this. And then when we come back, I've got more. You gotta trust that there's more coming, okay? Beautiful. Well, yeah, I'm just gonna bring back the music for wood and strings, and I'll check back in with you in a little bit. I'm very curious how you are all finding this right now. Do you need more time? How is it? No, no more time? Okay, yeah, that's good. I couldn't tell because there are all these heads there. Just, I'm just seeing the tops of your head while you're like down hunched over your page. I don't know what that means. It seems like you're busy at work. And before we, mm, yeah, before we share, I was just making a quick decision as I was talking. Before we share about what we made, I actually want to take another couple of minutes to journal about the experience. So just another little piece of paper and say whatever you got to say about how it felt to work with your non-dominant hand, to say what you were saying from your first journaling. I'm not gonna give you as much time. And in fact, I think because we've just been listening to a lot of music, I'm gonna just be quiet. Let's just be quiet for, 3 minutes. It's not even that long. But I'll pop back in about 3 just so that we have a chance to, work with ourselves before we share anything. All right, how's that going? Some interesting stuff. Um, well, here's the time. If you would like to share anything at all, I mean, obviously, I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about just any of it. And if you wanted to share, like, show us something, that would be cool, but you don't have to. All of it is interesting. So I'm just saying, whatever you want to share, now is the time. Did anyone make themselves laugh? I'm very curious about that. Okay, well, that's lovely.
I can share. So I I guess I'll share like my reflection first. I it was great because I feel like I'm in a phase where I'm really trying to embrace like self-expression over technical skill because I don't have technical skill and it bothered me for a long time and I'm trying to embrace that. So this is really helpful. I found that using the non-dominant hand kind of like takes away from the fear of not having technical skill, but it doesn't take away the fear of like my comic being bad, like my ideas being stupid or trite. I'm like still like, oh, my comic is bad. But it's okay. So I'll share it. So I took this kind of from my journal. It says, I embrace imperfection in others' work. I love when there's a skip on a recording, an actor breaking character, or asymmetry in a portrait. So
Yeah.
why do I fear it in my own work, and can I learn to work with it?
Oh, that's really lovely, B. Yeah, there's so much love for that. It's also so relatable, that feeling of like other people's work can be imperfect. I might even find it more interesting or compelling, but I can't let myself do that. Yeah, it's really hard. Did you have any sense you said that the fear wasn't removed, the fear of it being bad wasn't removed, and I'm curious if there were any other feelings in there other than you kind of embracing this fear while you were drawing with your non-dominant hand.
Yeah. Um, I mean, it's liberating to draw the non-dominant hand because you don't have to worry about your drawings looking bad because there's the expectation that they will. And I suppose the time constraint takes away a little bit from the fear of the ideas being bad because you're not gonna be able to make something great in that time. But uh did I do the evil toilet paper? I'm actually not sure. It's
Um,
possible.
who did the evil maybe it was you, B. No, I feel like it was Brianna.
Oh, it's Brianna.
Brianna did the evil toilet paper. Yeah. We did another, yeah, to to just be clear with everybody. In October we did horror comics, and so we had we had been playing with the idea of things that are ugly being evil, and I was like, choose something totally normal and like mundane to be evil, and Brianna chose toilet paper, and the story was truly horrifying. Anyway, yeah, that recording exists. You could see it. You could go watch it on the yeah, if you go to the YouTube channel and look for the horror comics one in October. It was very, very funny. But thank you, B. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to explain that comment. Cool. Thank you. Did anyone else want to share anything they experienced? Any feelings, or your drawings are welcome, but not required.
So I can go. I journaled about perfection sort of from a very young age being this thing that like if I could attain perfection, then, this parent would be this way and this parent would be that way and life
Mm.
would be so much, easier. Like perfection was the thing I strived for. Like it was this magical thing that would like, fix everything because I wanted to be able to fix external things that were out of my control. And so with that though is like the striving for perfection usually is really difficult and really hard and bad. And by the time you get to the top, let's say whatever that ideal is, you kind of have lost sight of everything else. And so and also it's an illusion. I feel like the comic explains it better than like my words can, which is probably the point. But I like have never really made comics, so like I kind of don't feel weird about it being terrible.
Okay.
So I so I laughed a lot actually, because what I did was I have my little person looking up this mountain, and like the star is, perfection, symbolism, right? And they're like, yeah, we can do this. But like the panel cuts off at the peak, so like you don't know what happens next. So then this is like the view from like the bottom, and those are a lot of rocks. And I have the person thinking like it will be worth it, like really seriously. And then over here, we're climbing rocks. And like I didn't mean to make the face look so ridiculous, but it was my non-dominant hand. And like I don't know if I zoom in if you can see,
Oh,
it's
it's
like kind of
wonderful.
smiling, but it looks stressed. And so I have this character being like, woo, but like in like shaky handwriting of like, we're doing it, we're doing it, we're doing it. And then we reach the top because that's the star we were reaching for. And then we literally just fall off.
Yeah.
And like it's a long way down. And like I imagine like at the bottom there's like, a pillow or whatever that like saves this person.
Okay.
But like,
That's really bad.
I kind of figured out more of what I thought about perfection as I was trying to draw this thing of just like, oh yeah, like it is this thing that is I've spent so much time striving for. And anytime I've felt like like I've achieved the perfect whatever, you kind of all of a sudden are like, oh, like it's not what you thought it was, and you've actually hurt yourself a lot along the way, and now it's just like not great. It's not perfect. It's nothing is perfect. Perfect is an illusion. And so anyways, that's my silly little thing.
Oh, it's wonderful though, and similarly very relatable. I feel like we can all touch all those feelings. And there's some comments in the chat you might want to see about the rock shapes looking so much more organic than if you'd done them with your dominant hand and tried to make them perfect rocks. I don't know.
Well, it's funny because like once I started, I was like, I actually kind of like how they look. Like maybe I need to do this more often.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks so much, Abby. That was delightful. Anyone else want to share? Oh, Deanna, always raising your hand. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so mine, like drawing with my non-dominant hand, mine are very recognizable, so I'll definitely have to explain them. But I was like wincing when we had to journal and then doing this because I like had to break myself off from a perfectionisty rant in order to attend class today. Basically,
Wow.
like I can't explain it, y'all, but I'm just gonna tell you what it is. Like I've been obsessed with having the right calendar system. And yes, we're halfway into January, and I've been working on this for months. And so like there was like a period where it was like December, and I just couldn't wait because I had it all ready, have all my shit, and I have this bag that I'm determined to fit like my whole life in this little bag and nothing else in my backpack. Like it's just like this whole thing, okay? Because I walk everywhere and like, okay, and school's about to start again. It's just I would go forever if I tried to explain this. So it has resulted in me like having all these planners, all these pieces of paper, like 3 rank, A5, B6, A5 slim, whatever. I've got like every size somehow, and that was not the point at all. right? And then the entire point was like to be able to like, because this is like something I'm known for doing, but I don't ever share it. Usually I make my own. And I was like, no, I'm gonna hack other systems. I'm not gonna make my own. It's such an essential waste of time, you know. And now like I have like sawed one in half. Literally, I cut one in half the other day. Like cut the whole thing in half. I've taken the books apart, put them in the thing. It's insane. And so I was like, oh God. So like I was journaling about it in the exercise and just like should like it was very judgy. Like I noticed that. I was just like, this is stupid. Blah, why are you doing this? Because then I don't have time for the stuff. You know what I mean? The shit in the calendar, if it's even making it. Because like I can't find the highlighter, it's the right color, or whatever. It's
Oh,
nuts. I got stamps, everything. So I was like journaling and I was just like in the journal, I was like, should I make a comic about this? And I was just like, why can't I like at least because I had promised people like I would do like a Substack or a blog and like show the different things I use, but like I haven't wanted to show all this. And it's like, should I be showing this? Like this is ridiculous, you know? So anyway, so the drawings are not like very recognizable. Um I started, let's see, started down here-ish. And I actually didn't draw the squares because I was so perfectionisty that I would have never drawn the shit. Like I'd have just been drawing like outside things or whatever. So let me see. Okay,
That's
so
amazing
that
though.
one is like how I'm feeling about like doing this. I was just like wincing. And these are like stacks of the different sizes. And then that was like an attempt at the bag in my pens. Had a whole like emergency of losing a pen before class. That's like the trash piling up because I'm not doing the trash because I'm doing this little dumb shit. So then when I was journaling, I was like started to laugh at myself because I was like, I have had this additional obsession of like fitting watercolors in the bag. And I was like, do I have like this fantasy of like me in the snow with watercolors like on a bench? And so you can't really tell because it's my dominant hand, but that's me like with this ideal of me outside, you know,
Okay.
doing watercolors and with my perfect weekly layout. And then what is this? Oh, that's just like more shit. And then like my bed, like there's some times I haven't even slept in my bed because there's shit all over my bed. And so I'm like over here in my chase, sleeping upside down, just like this is normal, and then that's me on my computer, like looking at more planner videos and planner porn. And then like I had some up here and then I realized I was doing them all out of order, but whatever.
So
So
sorry.
that one is like me cutting the planner in half. Expensive planner, by the way.
Yeah.
And oh, that was me with like the bright idea of like, oh, everything will be mini. Like I had this whole month of that where like this wasn't even gonna be that hard. I was going to make everything mini size. And then like that's me losing it in like 5 minutes because it's mini. Everything is like I got the smallest pen you could find, everything. So
Wow.
yeah, and that was like the calendar was like that was like December when I'm just like waiting for January 1st so I can use because I wouldn't like write in the thing. And
Mm.
it's just like this really weird thing. So I didn't have the outlining shapes or whatever, which like when I was reflecting on like doing this after that journal thing, like I took my pencil and just like had like a multicolor kind of thing. And I just like did like this. So like the background was like a color. So like
Yeah.
to indicate the panel. And then I saw like some kind of went together. It would make more of like a rectangular blobby shape. It's almost like if you took watercolor blobs behind it, right? And then I liked that because if I had the ability to draw straight lines, like I'd have just drawn 4 equal size panels. And like
Yeah.
most comics don't look great like that, right? So if with leaving the whatchadillies out, like the outline things, it helped me because I could see like different shapes that I wouldn't have drawn it that way. I would have laid it out that way. And then I did like, I mean, aside from the fact it's completely not recognizable, but I did like the idea of the watercolor blobby things because it kind of like demonstrated the rhythm of the chaos of the story. And so I don't know, it's weird because like sometimes when I really don't know what to do, like with Zentangle, I do that and y'all might have heard of things called like reverse coloring, where you put the pattern on top of them and you let the blob of ink or whatever be your boundaries. So sort of reminded me of that, except for I added the blob later. But I was like, well, if it's kind of like all blobby like that, you know, if like colors splashes, like, and like let's assume it was actually recognizable, like then I don't know, I was like not, I thought, well, if I made it like, because I started to notice I was like doing scenes out of order, which is kind of like my life. I'm trying to get this calendar together. So anyway, I was like, well, I don't know, it's kind of cool in some ways to just like have them like not competing with each other, but laid out in a certain way where if there was no words, then someone could make up a million different storylines to go with it. It could become their own. So that was kind of a cool idea in my head that I was like, well, that would be really cool. You know, it like reminded me in a weird way of like when I used to quilt and sell fabric, and I thought this is going to become someone's like quilt for life. You know, I'm like part of this thing somehow that like becomes their own thing. So I was like, oh, it could like be a way where people could start to make their own stories, you know, and like, so a storybook that might have like one normal plot is could be like the never ending story. You can make a bazillion with it. But I guess you could do that with any series of pictures. But anyway, it just didn't occur to me till this exercise.
Yeah, no, it didn't occur to me either. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas.
So
There's
that was
so much like nodding and laughing while you're talking, just like, yes, I understand this. I wanted to ask really quick, just for like a hands up poll, like hands up, who here feels so much satisfaction and excitement from like going into like a stationery store? Yeah,
you
like
don't have one. That's like the problem. I'm bringing them all to me.
yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing though, is I walk into a store where someone's laid out like beautiful notebooks and all the post-its of different colors and sizes, and there's pens everywhere, and there's all these beautiful different organizational tools, and I'm just like in a heaven. But trying to decide which ones to use or how to actually put them in my life is like the most stressful thing, because I know there's a best version and I can't do it. I feel like that was all you were talking about. I was like, yep, 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 yep. Like
Pretty much. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, your efforts are incredible though. Very good. Very good to hear and make a very good and funny comic. Um, that's amazing. Yeah, I would definitely check out the chat too, because there's a little bit with people responding there. And I have to say, my first thought when you held up your comic and there were these colors behind them, I thought you had done them with highlighters, because you were talking about finding your highlighters for stuff, and I was like, oh my God,
Well, like that pencil.
alternate use
At
for
one point,
highlighters.
this was going to be my highlighter because I was like, you're
That's
just gonna
exactly
have
it. Yeah,
one. It's gonna be simple. It's gonna have 4 colors in it.
that's
Yeah,
so
that didn't
cool.
work. So no, I don't even have the highlighters near me because like I lost a highlighter before class. So it's like they're in the other room. I just can't
Yeah.
use highlighters. But the highlighters is a cool idea though. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely. Yeah. Use your like office supplies for art making. Like use your, your study tools and turn it into something else. I love that. That was so great. Thanks for sharing, Deanna. Did anyone else want to share anything? Oh, I see a hand from Jackie. Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, hey everybody. I'm actually gonna put a picture in the chat of my thing because I remember that I can do that. And I'm like, why don't we do that here more often? It just never occurred to me. But I'll
Yeah, you
also
can do
show
it.
it, but it's pencil, so it can be a bit tricky. Well, first,
Okay.
I call myself a recovering perfectionist.
Cool.
It's the tendencies are still there. But actually in my art making is one place where I've really been able to like make progress and like let it go a lot. So the first panel says Frozen can't start, and it's just me sitting with like a bunch of art supplies in front of me. And then me doing a self-portrait. This is actually from earlier today. I was with Christina doing some art, and I hated the self-portraits that I made.
Okay.
So I tried 3 times, and it says, don't like it. It's okay, try again. And Make a Mess is this panel. That's
Yeah.
been really liberating to just be like, it doesn't matter, just make a mess. And then the last panel is trust the process. It's like a picture frame on the wall.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and thank you for sending the picture in the chat there, because yeah, I could look at it. It was a lot clearer when I opened it up. So if anyone
Yeah.
didn't do that, definitely take a moment and look at Jackie's drawing. That's so awesome. That was the motto of the school that I attended for 2 semesters, trust the process. And we would say it to each other facetiously because it was being said so much that it was just like, I don't know, you like tripped on a mud pile on the way to class, like trust the process.
Love
Yeah,
it.
you like stubbed your toe on the way to the bathroom, trust the process.
Mhm.
It's super fun. Oh yeah, definitely check the chat too. And yeah, I agree. The make a mess panel, it feels like just complete, like very whole. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Thanks, Jackie. Does anyone else want to share anything? Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Okay, I had to unmute there. Okay, so okay, so I did it in color this time so you guys could see it. So I kind of wrote like the first one is like perfection feels really familiar, like coming home, except if your home is booby trapped, like Home Alone. So that's like a water coming off, and then those are little thumbtacks.
Wow.
And
Okay.
then and the other example I had was like how you always know what puke smells like, even though it's been a long time since you barfed. And then like other times, like perfectionism makes me feel like my heart is racing like a little hamster wheel. And so then there's the little hamster and he's going, ah! And then, but then like the last one is like, there are other times that like when things are just perfect, like when it's like you're wrapping a Christmas present and the pattern lines up exactly.
Oh.
And then like that sometimes like if it's perfect, it's okay, even though like I have a very fraught relationship with perfectionism too. But anyway, so that was that. That was, and so yeah, that was my New Year's resolution is color and not just light blue. So you guys can't see it. So,
That's awesome. Well, we definitely could see this really clearly. Thank you for
all
that.
right, good.
How did it feel to make this?
um, Better than I thought. Like like as Abigail was saying, like the shapes are a lot more organic and less like I'm really uptight. Like my inner Hermione is really strong. And so
Nice.
like I want, yeah, I would have spent my whole time using the rulers too. But so this is a lot, yeah, it's a lot better. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
That's super interesting, especially with like it's true, we mostly have described perfection as being at the very least fraught and sometimes downright harmful as an idea. But I really appreciate that you brought into that last panel. Like sometimes a thing being perfect is like actually not, it's not a part of that problematic version of perfection. It can be perfect and just exist and be very satisfying and lovely. It's so strange how it like doesn't go the other way. Like that when we're striving for perfection, it really feels like it's all or nothing, or like that there is only one like right way that's going to fix everything. But then when we actually find a moment with like, you know, wrapping a present, we find a moment of perfection. In that moment, we're not like, haha, everything is fixed. We're just like, this is nice. That looks really nice. Like it becomes really low stakes, actually. It's just like, cool. Yeah, I find that really interesting and funny. It's a similar thing I find with catastrophizing. Catastrophizing things that could go so wrong. And then you get there and you might be like, yeah, this fucking sucks. But you're not you're not anywhere near where you thought you would be, and you never, like, those thoughts never touch. Like, it doesn't necessarily automatically absolve you of those fears forever. You'll have the same fears again tomorrow, but, like, when you're in a tough moment, it's just never the end, I guess, the way you thought it would be, until it really is the end, and then you wouldn't even know. Anyway, I'm just like, brains are so interesting. So many lies, such liars up there. Um, I want to give a chance for anyone else who wants to share to do so before I give you a little parting thought. So does anyone else want to tell us about their experience? Oh yeah, Natalie. Thanks. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
So, see, I drew in I'm trying to pull it close so you could see it. You cannot, my non-dominant hand, you cannot tell what this is, which had me laughing because like you can't tell. But when I'll do the panels like one by one, but when you
Okay.
talked about like, okay, perfection, the thing I thought about was um not knowing how to do something. You've never done it before, but you expect to be perfect at it. You're set
Oh
when
yeah.
you're not.
Oh yeah.
And so, like in this house now, I'm like trying to like, since we're moving into like my dad's old house or my house I grew up with, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to make this furniture or change this furniture. So this is me. This is supposed to be me like carrying like wood.
Right.
That's my head and whatever, and I'm trying to carry wood.
Okay.
And then this is me if I'm building furniture. This is me like, I'm supposed to be doing this, but that's what this is supposed to be, me like
Okay.
trying to like, and I'm like, I figured that I was like, oh, that should have come first. So I'm already not doing this perfectly because you're supposed to cite that up first before you're carrying the materials.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I'm like looking at a list because I'm all for like, I will look at like how to like do something,
Mhm.
and I'll look at like how to do something. I'll look at like 5, 6, 10, 20 different ways before
Mhm.
actually getting to it. So I like looked at this list, and then it said it was like page 1 of 500. And so and this is supposed to be me, like, these are the question marks and the surprise of like, what the hell? And so then this is me at the end. These are supposed to be my feet, and this is the television, and I knew you wouldn't be able to tell like
I
this
can kind of see
television,
it.
so I
Yeah.
put the rabbit ears up. Not that
Nice.
anybody has that anymore. And I'm watching The Young and the Dumb. Just
Amazing.
like, yeah, forget that. Forget doing all that. I'm not gonna do all that stuff. There's no
Yeah.
way. And that's
That's
usually how I
fantastic.
solve my like perfectionism of like, oh, it's supposed to be perfect. Oh, if I just read this. Oh, if I just knew how. Oh, if I just prep. And I feel like that's also like everything. Like when you go to
Yeah.
school, like when I was first learning how to be a teacher, and it was like I'm like learning all this stuff in school. And then you get into class, and I'm like working with special needs kids. Special needs kids ain't anything like what the textbook says. It's nothing like that. Nothing at
Amazing.
all. And that's kind of like, to me, like you think, oh, this is, or even like my crocheting or my knitting or whatever, or
Mhm.
oh, I could totally relate, Deanna. I could totally. You talked about the bed. I'm going to show you, like,
Right.
like,
That's
girl, this is
amazing.
like, I
Yeah.
have all this stuff. Like on this bed, there's no way my husband can hang out here because it's like weird. It's all his.
You got all your priorities sorted though.
Exactly. So I
The
totally
stuff
relate
on
to
the
that.
bed.
And then I just figured,
Priorities.
as I was writing the like what this made me think about was, clearly I enjoy the process, the
Mhm.
journey. It's not about having something
Yeah.
perfect at the end. It's just the journey, because like I
Yeah.
like I can relate to you, Diana, because I love collecting paper and like, oh, I'm gonna figure out the perfect system. And I like have bought every kind of like planner,
Yeah.
calendar, whatever, stamps, like the stamps that you like can make like the calendar in, like it just all of it. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna find the perfect and I do it every year. Next year, I'll know. I won't
Yeah.
buy all the, yes, I will.
There. Yeah.
But it's the system. It's like, it's the journey. And you learn a lot and you have fun.
100%. Yeah. Deanna just put into the chat that the other day she was like, just face it, you just like playing with paper and pens. I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
okay, great. You know what you like to do. Like, great.
Mhm,
Just do it 'cause
exactly.
it's super fun. Yeah. I wanted to ask you a question because you did your comic with like folding your paper. Did you do that so you wouldn't have to draw panels?
Yeah, I did that. I was trying to figure out like, well, what the, and see, first I was like, when you said 4, I normally do the like half and half,
Oh, yeah.
so it's like 4 big, that's what I normally do. And I was
Yeah,
like,
squares
well,
essentially.
let's be adventurous.
All right.
Let's
Yeah.
do it. Let's do it like this, like I'm running, like I'm running through the panels.
Yeah.
And then
Totally.
I was like, well,
Yeah.
how is that going to be? And then I thought, well, okay, if I'm going to do it with non-dominant, so I folded it over in half this way and then went that way. So they're
Mhm.
also not exactly even,
Of course.
but
Yeah,
it gave
that's
me a kind of way to go. And I was looking at it, I was like, I can't even tell what this is. Like, but it was
honestly,
fun
I
though.
find it totally delightful. Yeah, not being able to tell. I mean, this is actually one of the pieces that I had put into my instructions and that we can make it something you do in class or later, but the idea of like not looking at it for 5 or 10 minutes and looking at other things. We're looking at each other's work or we're looking at like other things in the room and then coming back and looking at it again. And I would totally recommend you guys doing this like tomorrow or the next day or even next week before class, like just pick this up again and look at it and just notice what you are drawn to or what you like or what makes you laugh or what looks weird or good. I think so many of us need to learn that it's actually our eyes that change all the time, not our hand. Like our hands change really slowly. Your non-dominant hand has years and years of practice to catch up to your dominant hand. Like truly, you can count on your non-dominant hand staying at the level of skill it's at and really creeping up only if you dedicate yourself to like really using it all the time. And you can train yourself to be ambidextrous, but that is a long project because think of how much of your life you've spent using your dominant hand and that all of that has been practice and all of that has been refinement and learning, and you can keep doing that till the day you die. So your non-dominant hand and your dominant hand, they're probably learning at approximately the same rate now that you are the age that you are, because you're an adult and your brain's not doing the same learning it was doing as a child, but it's still learning, it's still very flexible. It's just not like so rapid. But all of this to say that how you see your work can change with just a few minutes. You don't have to do skill building in your eyes. You just have to refresh them. Sometimes shift a perspective with a thought. Sometimes just showing it to someone else so that you're kind of seeing it through their experience of seeing it. Your eyes can change so quickly, but your hand's going to change really, really slow. So I like the idea of giving it a bit of time, coming back to it and seeing what the eyes say today, seeing what they say tomorrow, seeing what they say next week. Yeah, it's a cool bit of magic, honestly. Our perspectives are so malleable. Oh, I see. Spencer, were you putting your hand up? Did you want to go?
I just want to say I didn't do anything because I got stuck on the journaling and it was too much
Oh,
for
okay.
me today. I've just been having not a great day, but I just want to say I had developed some shoulder problems in my right arm, so I started training my non-dominant hand to do stuff, and like slowly I've been like, so I can write my name, but it's like shaky, but my writing from my right hand is so terrible that they're actually like they are
Oh, like they're similar.
like yeah, like
That's
I'm been
really
because I've been
interesting.
working like twisting off, like this is one thing like I can do a lot with my left hand, like twisting off jars, so like it's getting more power.
Yes, yeah, just with the practice and
Yeah,
repeating and
yeah.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting that you might be like recovering from an injury in your really skilled hand, and that brings you to a similar level as this other hand that doesn't have the skill but is learning really fast. Yeah, I mean, the more you use it, the faster it will go, right? It's just how it is. That's amazing though. What a cool thing. I wonder if you did drawings like with each hand and tried to like draw the same thing with each hand and just sort of tracked it over time, if you would see something interesting.
Oh, in another group we did mirror drawing, like where you
Oh,
do
like
one
that,
on
yeah.
the right, and that was the thing is they weren't that much off. Was the
Amazing.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That is so fascinating. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that, Spencer. Deanna has got your hand up again, and then I'll go to Natalie after you.
I just have a random weird question. Like, have you ever heard or seen certain artists? I'm thinking of one where I used to live that was a painter, where they paint like everything upside down and then they turn it over and it's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
does that relate to comics in any way? Or is that like some
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
what I
know.
was just talking about with your eyes. So when you see a pattern that you're familiar with, your brain just goes, "Oh, I know what that is." And it makes it very hard to identify the discrete components of the pattern. So the pattern might be the shapes that make up my face and hair and eyes and the shadows on my face. When you just look at another person, you're like, "That's a person." And you accept a lot of detail without the ability to separate it into things like shape or shadow. So when you turn a drawing upside down, your brain can't automatically assume that it knows what it is. And you have to look a lot more carefully at like, well, how long is that line? What shape is that shadow really? So actually, yeah, if you turn like if you're drawing from a photograph and you flip it upside down, you will produce a very different drawing than if you try to draw it straight on, just because your brain is processing all the shapes differently.
So you
It's
would
a cool skill. Yeah.
like I think this person drew it without a thing in front of him. You know what I mean? Like not drawing from a
That,
photograph doesn't matter.
yeah,
Like,
that just sounds like a skill that he's developed or that person has developed.
but it's pulling off of that same type of skill, like to
Yeah.
huh.
To know what shapes will touch, what shapes will overlap, where the lines will break and start and stop, and where the heaviness will be. Like, yeah, it's definitely something to practice. I've never imagined something upside down in my head and had it like flip the right way to look accurate. That sounds like a lot of skill. But yeah. Oh, Jen Graham's talking about a book called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. I've heard of that book. I've never read it though, so I don't know exactly what's in it. It might be from that book. Like if it's yeah, the book's been around a while. People have been doing this for a while, so oh, Natalie has it, of course. Serial book collector. Natalie, you were gonna say something. Do you want to jump in?
So I was gonna say that with my like MS, I had like MS attack where I lost like I was paralyzed for oh gosh, 10 months,
Oh
paralyzed
my
and
God.
blind. I came back from that. I mean, like not perfectly because that's MS,
Yeah.
but the part that came back was the left side.
Mm.
So like this was the part that came back. So for a while I was doing a lot of stuff with my left hand, even though I'm right-handed. And
Oh.
that was all kind of strange. And then had another attack and it switched. So but
Wow.
you learn.
That is
But
so
you
interesting.
but you
Yeah.
learn. And I thought like when I'm sorry, I forgot Spencer, is that when she was talking about not somebody was talking about not being able to see, I realized that's another thing too. Like I'm trying to draw not only with my non-dominant hand, I'm not looking at anything because I usually
Yeah.
need to like model something. I need to see something. Like because otherwise if I draw like even with my right hand, if I draw like dog, like you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get the 5-year-old version. I think we talked about that. It was either last week or the week before. You're gonna get the 5-year-old version of dog. You're gonna
Yeah.
get the 5-year-old version of house because I'm not seeing and like, oh, okay, there's the house. Let me just okay, and it goes
Mhm.
like this, and this eye goes this way. I'm not seeing all that. So I'm like drawing big circles and like how I learned how to draw. You draw these 2 circles and then you draw the tongue. Like, you know what I'm saying. You draw the
Mhm.
like crooked like whatever for the ears. So like I'm drawing, but how does a person look? How do logs look? And now I'm also drawing with the left hand. That was all kinds of cray cray.
Yeah.
But to me, that just makes it so you don't have to be perfect because there's just there's no way, and there's no way to even like it's un unrealistic expectations to
Mhm.
like that's like putting your hand behind your back and then you need to like draw this but also close one eye.
Yeah, we could make all
Draw it
kinds of physical
perfectly.
challenges. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's why, I mean, yeah, the non-dominant hand exercise is so fascinating for exactly that reason. Yeah, so much interesting stuff from this one little thing. Um, I want to, okay, next week I've got a whole other thing to do. But if I can give you the homework of like hanging on to the things that you made this week and last week and giving yourself some time of like really not looking at them, you might even enjoy describing this experience to someone else to relive it in your head and like try to articulate that and then come back later if it's the next day or the whole week later and look at what you did and see how things have shifted, like what your relationship is to it then. You might even describe it differently after a couple days off. Like you might just draw attention to very different parts. Um, so that's the loose suggestion of homework. I don't give homework. You can always pass. But I think this is something that has to happen over time. So this is a good suggestion for the week in between our sessions together. I feel very much like I'm going to remember Jen's comic in my head all week. That you always remember what puke smells like, even if it's been literally years since I've vomited, but I will never ever not know what puke smells like. That one's gonna stick with me. Deanna, your hand's up again. What's going on?
So I was just curious when you wrote your book, your graphic novel, the dumb one.
Yeah.
Like, did you set out in that 5 years or whatever? Did you set out and be like, this is like the story I want to tell, like on each page or chapters or whatever it was, like this one's gonna be about this and da da da, or like was it different and you were just drawing stuff and you were like, oh, this should be a book, or you know what I mean? And then how did you know
Yeah.
like how deep into your story to go and yada? Because I don't know, I feel like there's so many things I want to tell with comics that like I only want to sit down and do it when I know what this thing is going to be like for, and then I feel like it's like a waste of time with like these random doodles like, oh, which thing is this going to go for? If it doesn't have a section or a place, like I feel like what did I just do?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, it's very relatable. Yeah.
curious how that happened.
Well, I mean, the answer to that question is that the experience I was having of my voice becoming so painful was altering my life in this like really profound way. And I pretty much decided as soon as I got a sense of how long it was going to take to resolve it, I was like, well, I have to write this down. This is really, really important. Um, but because I am a perfectionist and I get in my own way so much. I was like, look, it's a story about your own life. And, the story of your life's not over till you die. So I've got to do this in a really deliberate limitation. And I decided that I would break it into small pieces as well so that I could have a sense of being done something sometimes along the way to the whole book being finished. So I decided that I would serialize it and publish small zines that were only up to 28 pages long, and that I just needed to finish each one of those and I wouldn't make more than 10. I was actually like, just make it more manageable. Just put limits on the brain. Like it has to be only 10 issues and each issue has to be less than 28 pages. And I just have to handle those 28 pages at a time. And some of them were only 20 pages and some were 24. It was like adjusted to the story. But when I decided to have those issues happen on their own instead of waiting until they were all done to release a book, I thought, well, I can tackle like a different subject for each one, and that gives me a way to track like the things I want to talk about and then just support those themes with the experiences that can illuminate them instead of trying to tell it in like chronological order or like in some, you know, big grand scheme. It was really just episodes. Like this first one is about it happening and the immediate aftermath. The second one is about this thing. I actually forget now. The third one, like they all have themes. Even if I don't state what they are, that's just how it helped me to not overwhelm myself. And no, I don't draw for pleasure. I only draw when I have a story to tell. So the drawing is always just trying to figure out how to say the thing as opposed to just making drawings for fun and then going, is this included? Is this not? I've just got so much anxiety around drawing that I really only do it when I have a sense of purpose about the drawing instead of just the pleasure of the activity. Although with my work, this is exactly what I'm trying to do. Like with all of my teaching, I'm trying to figure out how to feel the pleasure again and enjoy it so that whatever I want to make, I make it by enjoying myself more and more and more. And hopefully by exploration more and more. Because I really get a sense of purpose and then I'm just like I'm just nailed to that. Like that's all I want to do forever. Similar to you with your planner project where you're like, I need to get to the end of this. I do that with stories. But I'd like to be a kid again and just draw because it's nice. So I'm trying to get back there, and that's why I'm here. That's what I'm teaching about. Yeah. Thanks for the question. It's very much like I know you and I have a slow burn conversation to happen later this week, and I'm really like, yeah, that's what the slow burn's all about. Those big projects that you got to figure out, like, how is this going to happen? How do we shape it? What are the pieces going to be? What's the purpose? How do I work to make it go? Yeah, yeah. That's what we're going to be doing. So maybe you'll end up joining us. Seems like you're on track. That's delightful. Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. We're like right at the end of our new extended time for these classes. Seems to be nice to have a bit more time to just chill drawing and not feel like there's just 10 minutes. But we'll see. We can always change it. If I end up with a bunch of you in February going, I really want to do this, but an hour and a half is too long, then we'll just go back. Anyhow, thanks again for being here. Maybe I'll see you at Saturday's drawing health class. There's a newsletter announcing the theme coming out probably after this because I didn't do it today. So it's coming. Great. Have a good night. I'll see you next week or Saturday. Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
all. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Georgia.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.